Good morning, everybody. The time is 9:11 a.m. We're going to convene today's meeting. Today, we're going to be voting on all the motions that you have seen us make over the past week and a half regarding the mayor's proposed budget. We're going to be taking last and final motions today, any amended motions, and registering any no votes on motions that have been made. After that, we'll be voting on all the motions as one package, and then we'll be convening until next Thursday when we'll be voting on the budget as a whole. Before I take it up to my colleagues for any amendments, we're going to go out to the general public for public comment. And as usual, we'll start with folks here in the chambers. I have just a couple of yellow cards. The first one is for Kat Faubert. Good morning, Doctor.
Hello, council members, and thank you so much for this opportunity to talk. I'm speaking in support of the proposed budget by Councilmember Perea, second by council members for funding to support the LGBTQ community. The recent attacks and harassment against the LGBTQ community in Fresno have been documented locally and nationally by the media. The LGBTQ community experiences greater vulnerability to homelessness and being unsheltered. They experience greater unemployment and poverty due to discrimination and systemic oppression. In addition, the LGBTQ community, especially in the Central Valley, experiences greater health disparities as well as a lack of access to health care. This community, the LGBTQ community, is incredibly diverse, but it represents approximately 7% of the population in Fresno, about 40,000 people. This is not a small population. This population is represented in every district and are active voting members. These are your constituents. Democracy works when everyone, even the most marginalized, have equal access to representation, communication, and transparency with their elected leadership. I applaud every council member here who has tried and have worked very hard to do outreach and provide avenues for our diverse LGBTQ community to share their concerns and needs. This speaks to your commitment as public servants. The proposed budget is critical in creating a better institutional pathway for communication and accountability between the mayor's office, City Hall, and our LGBTQ communities. The proposed budget would also support organizations providing critical services to marginalized LGBTQ communities. This includes full-time paid staff LGBTQ liaison point person housed within city government, funding for LGBTQ commission, representative of diverse LGBT constituents and from every district, and funding for LGBTQ services and financial support of LGBTQ organizations providing these services. I ask that our council members approve the proposed budget and create greater support and communication within our diverse LGBTQ community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, let's do something crazy here and take roll call.
Sure, why not? Councilmember Karbasi?
Here.
Councilmember Arias?
Presente.
Councilmember Chavez?
Here.
Councilmember Bredefeld?
Here.
Councilmember Esparza?
Present.
Vice President Perea?
Here.
And Council President Maxwell.
Present.
All right, we're good to go.
All righty. The next person we have in the chambers is Carla Martinez. Good morning, Carla.
Hi, Carla Martinez with Leadership Council. Just want to make some comments on the budget motions you all made last week. Last week, you guys made a lot of budget motions that will begin to move Fresno in a way that is equitable to existing communities that haven't seen the same investments that other communities have seen. I do want to highlight the following motions. $1 million for construction phase of Basin XX. I did speak with residents in the Adams area, and they're very excited to see a park come into the area and hope to be a part of the design as this comes into fruition. $3 million for a mobile home park renovation fund. This will help low-income mobile home park owners stay in their homes and avoid the expensive fines that come with fixing their homes if they can't in the moment. They understand that they have to make these changes, but limited funds prevent them from doing so, so this will significantly help a lot of folks. And lastly, a number of infrastructure projects in D3, D5, and D7, which residents have also been asking for and located in historically disinvested communities. However, there are still issues that need to be addressed and budgeted for. This includes the eviction protection program program for $2 million a year. This is a critical investment, and we must have legal assistance available for residents, as tenant protections do not protect everyone in the Central Valley, where a majority of rental units are single-family homes and are not currently protected under AB 1482, nor will they be protected under SB 567. Additionally, this council has failed to implement any sort of tenant protections, rent control, and preventative policies towards homelessness. We want to emphasize the need for rent control and tenant protections for young people, working families, and children of Fresno if we want to improve our city and create opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carla. Does anybody else in the chambers wish to speak? If you could please come on up to the front microphone and give your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to address the council. Good morning.
Thank you. My name is Alan McEwen. I have spoken a few times representing the Fresno area pickleball, speaking today in support of motions 19 and 83, which will promote the first pickleball courts, permanent pickleball courts in the city of Fresno. We have been working, working towards this for over 5 years at this point, and we're coming to a time when the demand is exponentially growing for pickleball. We have providing beginner classes and so forth. The projects are permanent pickleball courts will lend themselves for tournament capability, where our attractions for people coming into Fresno are very valuable. There's been some issues mentioned by others about making all facilities courts as multi-use courts. We do not oppose multi-use courts in general, and we have existing pickleball courts striped with that capability. These will be permanent pickleball courts which don't lend themselves for that situation. We have posts for multiple courts. We're talking about fencing between courts to prevent balls from rolling into other courts. Just one other point, that this is a sport that everyone can play. We accept everybody. We encourage everybody to play, whether it's kids, whether it's adults, seniors. It's a major benefit for seniors because it gives them an opportunity for good, healthy, safe exercise, so forth. So I would strongly encourage that we continue with the progress that we've already started up to this point and install these permanent pickleball courts as early as possible. And thank you very much. I can provide information otherwise, if you like, about the incompatibility issue of certain activities such as hockey, football, cricket. There are other things that don't lend themselves. You can play volleyball and get away with it. You can play badminton and get away with it, but generally it isn't practical. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last card I have here is for Annie McEwen.
Hi, thank you. I'm Annie McEwen, and I'm with Fresno Area Pickleball, FAP, as we're known. And I just wanted to add to what I've talked about in the past. Pickleball is taught in Fresno Unified Middle Schools. It's taught at Fresno City College. It's taught at Fresno State. And it is a fun, low-impact, and social sport that can be played by people of all ages and skill levels, providing a great opportunity for workout and making new friends. That's a one-sentence definition of pickleball that I asked for from iChat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I don't see any other folks here in the chamber wishing to speak, so we're going to transition to Zoom. City Clerk, do we have anybody queued up?
Yes, we have Nishay.
Hi, it's Nishay Balahadia with Mighty Community Advocacy, Arias's favorite D3 constituent. It is my responsibility to be here as a literal duty to the next generation and my kids, but also I see what this city does to the most marginalized populations, and it makes it really impossible to be hopeful. In the budget of 2024, we are no longer asking, we are demanding housing for all, Safe, accessible, and truly affordable housing is a human right. Until this land is returned to the Yokut, we demand the end of predatory real estate practices, the end of racist redlining for our communities, or as you now refer to them, districts, and the right to live in community-led housing spaces with rent control to stabilize the future of your youth city. We are demanding more temporary shelter and more transitional living communities for our youth as your unhoused student population has risen 30% year over year. Divest in policing. The safest communities do not have the most police. The safest communities do not spend 51% of the general budget on police. 3 years ago, we were thousands of us screaming for defunding. You created a commission. You bought citizens and community leaders' time. You asked for recommendations. Where are your changes? Why do you continually approve a budget that increases year over year? Invest in community solutions and organizations. Defund the PD. Otherwise, your police reform commission is a farce and a performative action. Stop criminalizing the unhoused. Your heartless sweeps, your newly voted ordinance. Homelessness is a direct reflection of this council, this mayor, and this city's failed leadership. Stop harassing the most vulnerable communities that each one of you have contributed to with your legislation and your personal support. Free transportation. For you ROIers, you have the ability to create better employment rates with free public transportation, which would create a better local economy. You'll have caregivers who can show up better for their children, and you'll have constituents less stressed. It is truly disturbing and disgusting the way that you have decided to run this year's budget hearings. I'm going to blame Maxwell on this as he is the council president. And it's equally just disgusting that this is how you are limiting public contribution and public comment to the beginning of each hearing, just because you all can't take the heat. I hope you know that if you vote this budget in as it currently stands, whether your seats are up for re-election or not, we will all campaign for your removal. This budget is not the people's budget, and stop furthering personal plight and start listening to community. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Jasmine.
Hello?
Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, I would like to comment on that it is vital that parks programming is inclusive to all of our Fresno residents. That means ensuring that we have multi-use courts that can also accommodate futsal, basketball, and volleyball, not just pickleball, especially in Quinley, Lyons, Roding, East Rotary, Woodward, Logan, and Lafayette parks. There must be a commitment to design courts so they serve all of our highly demanded courts instead of only one versus another. And two, inclusivity is key, and I also ask you to commit to ensuring that all new and upgraded playgrounds and park facilities are not only ADA compliant, but actually are designed to include families with disabilities. There are design elements such as rubber grounds instead of wood chips, a disability-friendly swing, store-like panels that allow imaginative play as well, and so much more that benefit all of our families so that they include families with disabilities. So that our courts are multi-use, like there are in various other cities. That would allow for more programs and more events to occur here in Fresno, of which our current residents have to travel out of town for. So in order to provide for more inclusive parks, please take into consideration all other activities, not just those of the people from Clovis. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Next, we have Brandy.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Looking over the motions, I'm very appreciative of things that were added as far as motions for the LGBTQ liaison and commission, and asset, the asks as far as budget investments that were made by Catherine Frobert would be fully realized in these motions. I also am very grateful that there was a motion to
Test, 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 test. Jesse, let me know if you can hear me in the CMAC room, if it's coming through. All right, he's hearing us now. So, Jesse, how does it look on your end? Working as normal? All right. Should be good. All right, looks like our audio problem has resolved.
City Clerk, will you please resume virtual communication?
Yes, next speaker, we have Tony.
Hello, City Council. My name is Tony Quesada. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you guys so much for taking my call. I'm a current resident of District 3, and I just want to say I think it's embarrassing how the fifth largest populated city in California, which is Fresno, doesn't have a soccer complex and multi-use courts when little cities like Turlock, Lemoore, and Hanford have state-of-the-art sport facilities. We just went to Sacramento for a soccer camp. It was so amazing. I wish we could have had that here in Fresno. So please, all we ask for is please allocate money for resurfacing old tennis courts, like the ones at Rodney Park, and make them into multi-use courts, which are low maintenance, low cost, and can be used by everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. Next, we have James.
Hi, my name is James Relos, resident of District 7. I am concerned about this budget, mainly because the council and former police chief, current mayor, is asking for 50 cents on every dollar spent locally here for the police department. If we can contrast that with what was Measure Z and the amazing work that they did with the zoo. I'm struck at the militarization of the police department. So I would ask that that would be addressed and looked at again. Meanwhile, they are moving the unhoused from the streets under the guise of ADA compliance. Giving more money to a police department that I don't believe needs any more money. They have adequate support locally. I think the unhoused and those who are on the verge of being unhoused, because if we're truly honest, most of us, maybe not on the dais, but most of us are a paycheck away or two, maybe if we're lucky. So we're talking about a vast majority of the citizens versus a militarized police department. I think the budget can be moved around a little bit to provide shelter or homes, or if not homes, at least a safe place where they can keep their belongings and not being stripped of constitutional rights. We're talking about constitutional rights being stripped away from citizens of the United States, citizens of Fresno County, citizens of Fresno. I yield my time.
Thank you, James. Council President, that's all the public comment we have online.
Thank you, City Clerk. I did receive one more yellow card from Juana. Good morning, Juana.
Good morning. So I am Juana Echeveste Davis, and I am a citizen, a resident of Fresno, and I am also here representing Oasis Legal Services. So we work with the immigrant LGBTQ plus community. And so I'm here to see if I can get your support in providing some funds for an LGBTQ liaison position within the city of Fresno. And so I have a couple points that I would like to share with you, which I wrote down so that I would not mess it up too much. So the first one is, we feel that having an LGBTQ plus liaison would improve access to services. And so the presence of an LGBTQ liaison within City Hall would greatly improve the access to services for the LGBTQ community. They could facilitate connections with relevant departments, including healthcare providers, social services, employment assistance, legal resources, and the liaison would be instrumental in addressing barriers and ensuring the LGBTQ plus individuals have equitable access to services, leading to a healthier and more empowered community, and enhance cultural competency. Creating an LGBTQ plus liaison position would demonstrate Fresno's commitment to diversity, equality, and inclusion, and the liaison would not only work within City Hall, but also collaborate with community organizations. So there are several community organizations that are hoping to have these funds allocated for this position, but keep in mind that the community organizations represent a lot of people, so we would greatly appreciate your support. So thank you very much.
Okay, Council President, we have Pedro.
Good morning. My name is Pedro Navarro Cruz. I'm a District 3 resident and resident of Fresno for the last 22 years. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to speak to you all today about my concern about the complete disregard from this body to implement every recommendation from the 2022 Commission on Police Reform, which is a document that brought all kinds of qualified people together from different walks of life to create an official document to guide Fresno forward and alleviate our codependent addiction as a city to overfund the police department at the expense of ignoring critical needs of Fresno residents. Sure, we can credit Chief Valderrama from cleaning some of former Chief Dyer's mess by improving the morale, letting go of bad apples, and implementing what he can of the recommendations within the department under his watch. However, the rest of it falls on you, the legislative body, which can fund recommendations and direct city staff to act accordingly. In 2021, I was appointed to the police reform implementation team to help guide the implementation of the mental health related recommendations. We had our only public meeting to date in the summer of 2021. At this meeting, we were sworn in and Mayor Dyer gave a soapbox about the importance of our work. And then we never met again as an entity. As part of the mental health working group, I, alongside Oliver Baines, Assistant City Manager Francine Kane at the time, Deputy Chief and Commission Member Michael Reed, CIT Program Supervisor Sergeant Rodney Cancho, Attorney John Holtzman visited Oakland, Eugene, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and then we were tasked to help develop alternatives for how the police responds to mental health related for phone calls. It was an incredible experience that I unfortunately never got the opportunity to share with the public in a commission setting, and it almost feels intentional, unfortunately. If I had the opportunity, I would have shared how this trip was extremely biased and set up in a way to enhance the police department's benefit. As I said, we've identified an addiction problem, which is giving funding to the PD. After 2020, it's if someone found out that they have an alcohol problem and then bought a brewery. I would have shared so much to the public, like going on a ride-along with the Eugene PD to assess how they work with the Cahoots program and so much more. So yeah, I would just like to see some priority again to really just expand on these recommendations. And lastly, I do again want to uplift the priorities set forward by the Fresno Parks Advocates United. At the end of the day, all we want is inclusion for everybody to be heard and have the same access for improvements. And I want to be clear too, like we're not against the sport pickleball. We just would like the same attention as you all were having the discussion in regards to the infrastructure that is really outdated. We can't keep the grass green, and so people don't have a place to play soccer. So futsal courts, which are a similar size of a volleyball court, would be a solution to keep up with the demand of soccer. And so if it's multi-courts, if it's a design that includes dedicated
Okay. Oops. Next, we have Marvin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I go by Mavern. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am 22 years old. I attend Fresno City College, and I'm very proud to call myself a Ram. I'm not originally from the area, so I'm not 100% aware of everything that goes on with the history of this city, but I do know from listening into the meetings from past meetings that essentially what we have here is a housing crisis. It's a state of emergency. I think it's very important that my story go on record. I identify as transgender. I want to wish everybody a happy Pride Month. I want to say that it's important that I speak on behalf of my community to address this housing issue, because the thing is that most of us are either on the brink of poverty or in poverty to the point where we cannot afford housing, or it's like housing insecurity for us. And I think that it's important that you guys allocate money for an LGBT liaison to look at these issues and really, really address them. I think that the fact that there's 10% of the population that identifies as LGBTQ+ in this community is more than enough to merit such a thing. I appreciate you and have a happy Pride Month. especially Gary Redfield.
Thank you, Council President. That's all the public comment we have.
Okay, and I don't see anybody else here in chambers, so we're going to go ahead and continue on with today's hearing.
Sorry, Council President, I apologize. John Waters just popped up.
Oh, yes, okay. Good morning, John.
John?
John, you're online with the council. Go ahead and your public comment begins. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Waters, can you hear us?
Okay, that'll conclude public comment for today. Just to reiterate to everybody, I'm going to go in numerical order by council district. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Do you have any motions you'd like to amend? Do you have any new motions? It will still require a second to add it to the queue. And would you like to register a no vote for any of the motions that are currently in the queue? After we've gone through everybody, we'll vote on the bundle as a whole. That does not mean the budget is adopted. What that means is the administration will meet with the budget subcommittee. That's myself, Council Vice President Perea, and Councilmember Carbasi. We'll meet over the next week to make sure that we present a balanced budget. I presume we'll be quite a bit over a balanced budget with all the motions that we have made. And so our job will be to reconcile that and bring back a proposal Thursday for final adoption. So with that being said, I will hand it over to my colleagues, starting with Councilmember Carbasi. Any amendments, new motions, or registers of no votes?
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I have a few. Ruthie, get your calculator out. So, sorry, give me one moment. So I'm going to start in reverse. I'm going to register a no vote on motion 84. Then when it comes to the motions, on motion 37, and I will of course email this over, I would like to change the language to read, instead of the lot at Bryan, the Contessa Avenue landscape buffer. That is the proper technical term.
Do they need a second when they amend it, just to be clear?
Just for the second to give a nod and thumbs up.
Can you indicate who the second is on that, Councilman?
Yeah, let me find out. That was motion 37. Let me see who the second was.
Are you okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Council Vice President. Yeah, I'll send it over. It's just going to say, instead of vacant lot, it's going to say the Contessa Avenue landscape buffer. Be easier for Public Works, yeah. Amend motion number 7 regarding Project Spotlight. The second was Councilmember Chavez, or actually I was his second, excuse me. If you're okay with it, I want to just amend to add Project Spotlight or any other technology equipment service to combat organized retail crime in Fresno. Thank you, Council Member. A new motion to allocate $244,000 into the shift replacement budget in the Fresno Fire Department to aid in achieving a minimum daily staffing level of 103.
Got a second from VP Perea.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Amend Direction 24. This was regarding meeting with the Budget Subcommittee on revenues for property tax. I'd like it to actually read any revenue, just have quarterly revenue reports for the Budget Subcommittee.
What number?
This was Direction 24.
Or direction?
Can you state that one more time?
Sure.
Please?
So earlier last week I made a council direction number 24, which was about quarterly reports on property tax revenues, but I'd like it to include all revenues. So just basically revenue reports quarterly to the Council Budget Subcommittee, please.
Thank you.
Okay. The next motion will be to allocate $500,000 for updates at the city's community center in Pinedale. I'll need a second for that. Second. Thank you, Councilmember Britterfield.
Second from Councilmember.
500,000. So there was a report back in 2017 from a former deputy planner named Orlando Ramirez from Clovis, and I requested that report. I did receive some notes. I actually met with Mr. Ramirez and got the full report. I'm going to send that over to Director Clark. What I would like is council direction. I need a tray memo to know since 2017, based on his findings and conclusions, what has been implemented in the last, 6 years to make some of those changes, what was accepted, what was rejected, and I'll send those over. Regarding Direction 99, now I'd like to make a motion to allocate $40,204 for tablets for building inspectors in the Public Works Department. Tablet. So I did meet with Public Works. The engineers have computers, but tablets would work because they're on location, so they have internet. Yeah, unless, Director, you'd like to comment on that. Is that okay? Sure. Okay. That's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah.
Good morning, Council. Scott Mosier, Public Works Department. So that council direction was in regards to our what are called engineering inspectors in the construction management division. So they are both handling subdivisions, but primarily the capital improvement projects being managed for construction. Those staff, we have smartphones and such, but they rely on old school rolled out plans. They do not have tablets for that work. So that was the request from Councilmember Carbasi. The engineers in the office, here at City Hall, project managers, engineers, they do have laptops and are equipped, but this is more related to the engineering inspector position managing capital construction projects.
Okay.
Can you repeat the cost one more time?
$40,204.
Second from VP Perea.
Thank you, Council Vice President. And that was a good question. Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, next one will be to allocate $900,000 to implement left turn phasing on West Shaw Avenue at Phelan. Thank you, Councilmember Bredefeld. I have another member I wanted to make, but I don't think I have it regarding the, and I may have missed it, regarding the fence we have at City Hall. Did I get that memo? Yeah. Okay, I'll read it and come back then, if that's okay. Oh, my question was that the whole fence or was that a next phase? I apologize, Scott. I asked for clarification on that.
Yeah, and I know Scott knows the answer to that.
Yes, Council. That was in regards to wrought iron fencing around the full south lot of City Hall. So a very similar type treatment as the charter officials fencing, but including the entire south lot.
Okay. So I'm going to make the motion for that. I think the employee should be protected as well. However, we may not be able to cover that whole cost, so perhaps we'll discuss a phased up approach over the next year or two. So I will make a motion to allocate $800,000 to complete the security fence expansion around the south lot at City Hall.
Did you intend for that to be gated?
You mean as far as that really will come down to what I hear from administration.
Scott, did the $800,000 estimate include gates at both driveways?
That's correct. That would include gates, both driveways, with basically same key card type of access for rolling gates.
Okay.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I'm building a wall. You should be happy. Okay.
Councilmember, if I may just request something from staff. City Hall is part of the downtown plan. And I know downtown plan has very specific rules around the height of fences around properties. I want to make sure that we don't do something at City Hall that we're not allowing any other commercial or retail or residential user to be able to do in the downtown area. So they can just confirm what the downtown plan requirements are and
That's
whether
fair.
they have to be modified or
Yeah,
exempted.
we go through the process as well. We would go through planning and development and check for consistency with the plan. So I agree with you. We would follow any plan.
Because I recall off the top of my head that we've denied a few requests of similar nature.
Usually wrought iron is okay. It's when people want to do like cyclone, but we'll certainly go back and make sure we're consistent.
It's usually the height above 4 feet.
Oh, agreed.
in the frontage.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, I know the courthouse.
You don't want a 15-foot fence?
I know the courthouse is a fence, but that's a very fair point. Yeah, definitely we need to look into that. So the motion was for $800,000. I don't know if there was a second on that. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Bredefeld. Almost done here. Hey, we got to fight for money for Northwest as well. These are for the folks in the back. Resurfacing the tennis courts at Logan Park to pickleball-only courts at $69,000. Thank you, Councilmember Bredefeld. And the last one, oh, there's two more, sorry. Setting aside $1 million for organizations to apply for funds for projects that fit within the score of Measure C. Specific criteria and guidelines to be set by the subcommittee of the Measure P Commission in compliance with applicable laws. Thank you, Councilmember Redefeld. The last one, regarding motion 76, I am waiting for clarification. This is regarding the Office of Community Affairs. I'm waiting for an opinion from the city attorney's office that we're going to discuss in the budget subcommittee. But in lieu of not having that opinion, I don't want to kill this, but I don't want to vote for it right now. I would like to table it until we have the opinion to the June 22nd meeting.
Councilmember, I would support that with one additional direction for staff to provide us activity reports for each of the OCA members for the last 12 months, so we can assess what kind of work they've been doing.
Sure.
Councilmember Arias, I think what would be helpful is if you revoked your motion at this time then.
Say that again.
You would revoke?
Yes.
Okay, you want to do
I could
that?
reset my motion and convert it to a direction for activity reports for OCA staff members for the last 12 months.
And what number was that again?
It's 76.
Motion 76.
Okey doke, number 76. Thank you. No, it's just rescinding of a motion.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. And that's all I have. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you very much. Next up, I have Councilmember Arias.
Yes, I'd like to amend motion 55. It should read, the funding of $1 million for Basin XX, which is the actual name of the basin in West Fresno. The $1 million would come from the existing $8 million designated for new parks and facilities under Measure P. So that's an amendment.
Who seconded that, council member? So that they could.
55.
Okay.
I want to rescind motion 72 to fund the remaining capital improvements in North Point Settlement Agreement. We have received a memo from the administration. There is sufficient resources for the city capital improvements outlined. The remainder capital improvements are in county property and therefore require county funding or county approval for us to proceed with those. So I will rescind motion 72. And that was it, except for my new direction for monthly activity reports from the OCA staff members for the last 12 months. That's all, Council President.
Registering any no votes at this time?
Yes, I'd like to register no vote on motion 84.
Okay. Any other changes at this time?
No, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Carbasi, I understand you have one more additional.
This is the last one. I apologize. I skipped it on my notes. I would like to make a motion to allocate $200,000 for the city attorney's office. We are hiring more staff, and there's no space. It'll enable them to have off-site office space. No, thank you, Council Vice
Second
President.
from VP Perea. Okay, thank you. Next up, I have
Who was the
Councilmember
Sorry, who was the second on that last one?
VP Perea.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
I'll make a motion to not allow council members to make any more motions. No, I'm good, Council President.
Councilmember Arias, did you have additional?
I'd like to resend motion 73. City manager has confirmed this would be addressed in the next 30 days, and they have sufficient money in the budget to address it. So, including the welcome message, city manager.
Okay, Councilmember Bredefield.
Yeah, first, in this great nation is Flag Day, so I want to wish everybody a happy Flag Day for our great country. I wanted to withdraw motion 19 because it is more clear. It's a duplicate. In motion 83, it actually addresses both pickleball courts at Rotary East and Vinland Parks, and outlines the specific amount. So 19 is a duplicate, so I'd like to withdraw 19. I would like to withdraw motion 21. The cameras are already in code enforcement. I would like to register a no vote on number 58, number 78, and number 91, 92, 93, 94. Yes, on the related to the LGBTQ liaison position and funding for some of these other issues.
Any other changes, Councilmember?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Esparza.
All right, kick us off with a registering a no vote on motion number 84. I would like to amend also motion number 22, motion to fund the construction of a roundabout on Washan and Fountain. I'm going to move that amount from 260,000 to instead 900,000.
And who seconded that for the record so they can approve it? What's the number?
Uh,
I just need you guys to say
Chavez.
it out loud.
Chavez
Okay,
did.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Chavez seconded the amendment. And I would like to add one more motion to fund the construction of a roundabout on Washan and Cortland for the
Second.
same amount, $900,000. Thank you.
Second from Carbasi.
Appreciate it. And that will conclude my motions. One no vote, one amendment, and one additional motion.
Thank you very much. Council Vice President Perea.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to allocate $50,000 to fund a pilot program for e-bike and scooter rebates.
Second
you.
from Councilmember Esparza.
I want to register a no vote on motion 84. I would like to make a motion to bring and fund the Tower District streetlights under Public Works. I don't think I've received a monetary attachment to that yet.
Got a second from Arias.
And then I need to amend a motion 42, which was seconded by Councilmember Carbasi. I need to amend motion 42 to read, allocate $2.8 million to complete a grind and overlay on Fruit Avenue from Clinton to Dakota Avenue.
Of course.
And I'm going to go ahead and rescind motion 38. And that's all.
Councilmember Perea, I do believe we got a memo out on the cost for the string lights. It may have been yesterday or first thing this morning, but it's out there somewhere.
Okay, we'll take a look. I remember seeing that. I just don't remember if there was a cost. There was a cost.
All right, Council, so on the Tower District string lights, so the cost to make that a city set of string lights, it's $100,000 upfront capital cost. That saves some money, but I want to highlight a longer-term impact with that is we would be pulling power from the traffic signals on Olive. Those are gas tax funded. As soon as we put the string lights on that same circuit, it will require the traffic signal power to all be paid for by the general fund in perpetuity, which adds about $5,000 a year for that purpose long-term. If we wanted to avoid that, we would have an extra $25,000 to $40,000 to obtain separate PG&E power on a metered, basically service pedestal to power those string lights. So there are two ways to do that. There's the $100,000, and we're either spending, again, depending upon PG&E availability, 25 to 40 grand up front to minimize the general fund impacts long term, or we're going 100 grand as a capital expense to make that conversion, and then we have long term about 5,000 a year to the general fund just in perpetuity.
I think we'll figure it out when we go through all of the items, figure out what the best solution forward is.
Okay.
Scott, was that that was a direction memo, was it? I don't think it was a budget.
I just made a motion for
Oh, it was a new motion,
This was today's. Yeah,
but it
this
was
is a new
based on
motion.
a memo that we did, right, Scott? Scott, did we do a memo on this? Okay, thanks. I just will go back and refer to that direction memo.
Okay.
Thank
Do I
you.
need to do anything to amend my motion, or are we
I
clear?
think we're fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. City Clerk, if you could please pull up the PDF that was provided to you earlier. I was out last week, so I'm going to ask for a second for just all my motions, really. But before I do that, I do have a couple of motions I need to amend. First, I made 3 motions last week. I need to make slight tweaks to each of those. The first one was for the motion for $500,000 to fund zero fare for seniors, persons with a disability, Medicare card holders, and children aged 0 to 12. contingent upon the city of Fresno not receiving grant funding to offset the cost. That was seconded by Councilmember Arias. Are you agreeable to that change, Councilmember?
What
Second
number was that?
That was motion number 2. Yeah. Next one would be motion number 1. Make a slight change. Motion to treat 100 homes through the airport noise abatement program in FY24. That was seconded by Councilmember Esparza. Are you agreeable to that change? And my last alteration of motion number 3. That's a motion to add $23,000 for the design of 9 District 4 bus stops to the list of 75 bus stops in our ADA transition plan. Again, was seconded by Councilmember Esparza. You agreeable to that? Okay, and the rest of them, City Clerk, if you could pull them up.
What were you changing on number 3? To add 9 bus stop shelters in District 4 to current list? Were you amending that?
Yes, those were amendments. I added a dollar amount to it, City Manager.
Oh, you added a dollar amount, okay. 23,000?
Yep.
Okay.
I will be sending all of these in
Okay, thank you.
electronically, okay? Thank you. And then the rest, if I could get a second for my remaining motions. Second from VP Perea. And I don't have any additional changes at this time. So,
I have one additional motion, Council President.
Councilmember Arias.
Motion to repave Echo Avenue from McKinley to Olive from Measure C flexible funds. Thank you.
Second from Councilmember Bredefeld. Going once, going twice for any additional changes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Those Measure C flexible funds, if I can get an understanding, what will that defund? What is slated that won't get funded? And specifically, is it in Northwest Fresno?
Council, we'd have to further analyze that. However, the Measure C flexible fund balance is almost completely consumed just by basic operations. I mean, that pays for everything from 4th floor city hall rent, keeping the power on, basic staffing. It pays our construction management lease. It pays the on-bill finance
Council
repayment.
President, I'll amend my
So,
motion to say Measure C flexible funds or other transportation resources from the city.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I was getting to, it would have to really come from our Measure C street maintenance allocation. The flexible fund is really
Yeah, we have
99%
SB1, we have
consumed.
like 5 different
Understood.
funds,
Thank
so
you.
I'll leave it open.
Do we have an estimate for that already, the cost?
City staff does. Yeah, the street is a series of potholes that are pretty big, and
Okay, so Echo, okay, Scott, we'll have to get the number for that, thank you.
thank you.
We'll talk about that.
Okay. I'm going to ask everybody if they made an amendment or added a new motion, please get that into the appropriate folks by 12 o'clock noon today. Okay? City Clerk or City Manager, do you have any clarifications on your end? I want to state for the record, the following motions will not be in rotation going forward. Motions number 19, motions number 21, 38, 72, 73, 76, and 84. Those have all been taken out of rotation. So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve the rest of the motions.
So move.
Have a motion by Arias and a second from Esparza. Is there any conversation up here on the dais?
Yeah, Council President.
Yes.
You know, I'm trying to really restrict myself from making a motion to repave the whole city, as we can tell. But what I would recommend is, obviously, we've all got priorities in our districts. We've made motions. If we could have our administration use that as a guiding principle. Funding is limited. We understand that. Not all projects are going to get completed, but future conversations with the council member would be very helpful going forward this budget year on what projects get prioritized as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilmember Esparza.
Can you repeat the last couple of motions that are not in rotation anymore?
Yeah, I will repeat them all once more for the record. The following motions will no longer be in rotation for consideration in this year's budget. Motions number 19, 21, 38, 72, 73, 76, and 84. Would you like me to repeat those one more time?
All good, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the dais? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, motions pass 7-0. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to adjourn today's meeting, and we'll see you all at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.